All right. Hello, hello, hello. Happy to be back. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Whenever you're watching this, if you're watching this now as a live stream, or even if you're watching it later. What I'd like to do again, just say hello in the comments. Let me know your name. Where are you joining us from? And again, even if you're watching this later, write to us in the comments. Say what's up. We love hearing from you guys. My name is Wes, and from Interactive English, and every week we come out with new and different English lessons to help you guys practice and improve your skills. And this week, right now, this lesson, it's a fun lesson because I'm going to talk to you about modal verbs. And this is actually a lesson that I think one of you asked me about it about a month or two ago, about doing a lesson on modal verbs. And I'm going to talk to you about how to use them and when we use them. And specifically, I'm going to focus on those right there: should, could, and would. So stay with us because I promise you will learn something new. I got a bunch of questions for you, and we're going to practice using these modal verbs. What's up? Julissa, Vicas, Rogerio, Fred, Marco. Hello, hello. How are you guys? Good to see. So many familiar faces today. Thanks for joining me. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. And again, sorry if I miss some names. Sometimes not everything, it just scrolls so fast in the feed, but I will try to say what's up to you guys. I appreciate you being here. So let's just jump into it. So we're going to talk about modal verbs, specifically these three right here: should, could, and would. There's all types of modal verbs, but I specifically for this lesson just want to look at those three, and then we're going to practice using them a little bit. So let's start out with a basic and simple question answering this. Well, what are modal verbs? The reason I wanted to talk to you about modal verbs is because we use them all the time. These are words that are very common. We use them a lot, but we don't tend to focus on these words. They're not given a lot of emphasis. And we use them for mostly these four reasons right here: to show likelihood about whether something is going to happen or it's not going to happen. We can use it to show ability, whether we are capable of doing something. We also use it for permission, whether it's okay to do something, or an obligation, which is basically saying that it's something that we must do, that we should do. It is important for us to do something. And if you really want to think about it, modals really just give us more information about the main verb. Now, look at I'm very proud of that picture that I found right down there because I saw it and I was like, wow, this will be a great way to show how modals work in a sentence and kind of how it's connected and kind of turns things forward in our head so we understand what is being talked about. So you basically have your subject followed by the modal verb, followed by the main verb. And it really takes us through that process of the sentence. And the modal verb, again, it's just really giving more information about that main verb. And the main verb, you can see, is that biggest part of the biggest gear because it is. It's probably the most important part of a sentence because it really gives meaning to the sentence and what we're trying to convey, the message, the thought, the idea that we're trying to tell. So modal verbs really help out the main verbs in that way. Now, there are certain characteristics about modal verbs that we should be aware of, which is more of the grammar to show us how to use these modal verbs. So let's look at the characteristics of a modal verb. So first off is modals, they never, I'll say it one more time, never change their form. So we don't conjugate a modal verb, we don't add s, We don't add an ed for the past. We don't add an ing for the continuous. So you can look down there. Typically, the subject and verb have to agree. For example, I want, he wants. We add an S. But if we're using a modal verb and we say like I should, you just say he should. The modal verb does not change a form. We do not add an S to the modal verb. I tried to put it down there in that example and basically put the S in red to show you don't use it along with an X. So yes, do not change the form of the modal verb. The second thing to be aware of is that modals are followed by the bare infinitive. And you might be wondering, well, what is the bare infinitive? So an infinitive verb is just to plus the base verb, to go, to dance, to run, to learn. If it's the bare infinitive, it's without to. There is no to. So for example, again, you would just have the subject, the modal, and then the bare infinitive, just the base verb. He should go. All right. Now, this is something that I think would be more common that learners might make mistakes in their writing. I think speaking, people use it correctly, but sometimes I think in writing, people might make these small mistakes and they might use the infinitive when they should just use the bare infinitive. You would just say, he should go. There is no to in between the modal and the base verb. So those are the characteristics of modal verbs. So let's start talking about that first modal verb, should. Let's have a look at it, should. So we use should for this first part to talk about, to show an obligation, a recommendation, or a polite request. So I'm sorry if hopefully you can read these. I try to make the text as large as I can. I know some of you might be watching this on a mobile device and it's harder to read, but if not, it's okay. I will say the sentences for you. So we're showing an obligation, a recommendation, or a request. And my request, I might ask you guys, you should give this lesson a thumbs up. You should give this lesson a thumbs up. So it's basically, in this case, it's a polite request. Now, it's not something that you absolutely have to do. If you're using should, it's maybe like 75% to 90% of saying, okay, this is something that you probably should do. It will benefit you. You should exercise. You should eat healthier. All right. It's also polite because if I just tell you, do some exercise, it comes off as a little rude. It's a little strong. So you can use that modal verb to make it a little more polite by just giving, a recommendation. You should do this. You should do that. So what I want you to do right now is share with us and tell us, what do you think? What should you do to improve your English skills? I want to hear from you guys right now. Tell me, what should you do to improve your English skills? And I want you to give me a full sentence right down there in the chat. And if you are watching this later, again, practice with us. Use the comments section like it's a whiteboard and write the sentences in there and practice writing with us. Tell me, what do you think? What should you do to improve your English skills? Have some other people joining us. Mandeep, hello. Ahmed, how's it going? Hope you guys, Mohammed. Sorry if I mispronounced some names. Sushant, good to have you guys here with us. Great. Thank you so much for joining us. Junior, Marco, where's Ioana? Ioana is actually out right now, so she's not in the chat. It's just us right now. Maybe she'll be back next time. So Amano, hello. Helen, great to have you guys with us. Thanks for joining us. We are talking, if you're just joining us, we are talking about modal verbs and how we use them and why we use them. And we're talking about should, could, and would. So right now, I want you to tell me, what should you do to improve your English skills? This is good advice that we can all read and learn from each other and hear what each other is doing to practice and improve our English skills. So in the chat, tell me, what should you do to improve your skills? We can also use should to ask a question. All right. So I say, should we watch another lesson? Maybe that's something that you're thinking after this lesson. Should I watch another lesson? Or should I cook dinner? Or should I watch some TV? We can use it to ask questions, but in my opinion, I think it's used commonly to ask rhetorical questions. And rhetorical questions are questions that are not meant to be answered. And the reason I say this is because I think it's commonly used when people are talking to themselves, when people are thinking to themselves. I do this all the time when I'm thinking to myself, should I do this? Should I do that? I'm not really expecting anybody to respond and give me an answer. It's just something I ask myself. So I think commonly we would use should in this context when we're thinking to ourselves about what we should do, or maybe something we should not do. We can use it to ask questions. The other thing down at the bottom, we can use should to express things that are likely to happen. For example, he should be here by now. You're waiting for somebody to show up, to arrive, and you might say, well, he should be here by now. It's likely going to happen. Last week, we talked about time expressions. And I'll leave a link to it. I'll put a card up in case you missed last week's live lesson and would like to check out and learn more about some time expressions. But I told you how we could use the simple present to talk about something that will happen in the immediate future, like the plane arrives Monday, or the plane arrives at night. It's the simple present. We can also use should like this to talk about something that will happen. The plane should arrive tomorrow. Now, if you're using should, it means like, well, maybe it's not going to arrive. It should arrive, but maybe it won't. But you're talking about something that's likely going to happen. The movie should start, the party should start at 9 o'clock. That is a great example and a way that it's commonly used because people will schedule a party, but sometimes most of the time they start later than people tell you. But somebody might say, well, yeah, it should start at 9. And that way, like, okay, it's probably not going to start at that time. I should show up a little later so I don't get there too early. So that is, again, how we can use should. So let's see what you guys told us. What are some things you should do? I should wake up early. You're late to class. It's okay. That's a good example. Annabelle, thanks for sharing with us. Yes, I should follow you to improve my learning skills. Perfect. Excellent use of should. And yes, I think you should follow us. Follow us on social media too. You can join our classes. We're always putting up new information and posting questions for you guys to answer and practice. So I should watch you more than 1 hour to learn some. Ahmed, thank you for sharing a sentence with us. You guys are very flattering right now. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Rokia said we should practice listening and talking by watching English movies in order to improve our English. Yes, that is something that everyone should do to improve their skills. Practice their listening, practice speaking. You can watch movies, read books, I think is another great way to improve your skills, and it is something that you should do. Now, let's look at the next modal verb, which is could. So the first part I want to tell you about is we use could to suggest a possibility. All right, you could do this or you could do that. And the sentence that I had for you is, well, we could eat Italian or Thai food. You have two choices and you're basically saying you could do this or you could do that. So It's used to talk about a possibility, something that you have the choice to do. So I want you to use it. Again, let's practice using it in this way. I want you to tell me what could you eat tomorrow? What is it possible for you to eat tomorrow? Give me some choices. You could eat this or you could eat that. All right. I'd like to hear from you because it's interesting to know what foods everybody is eating from all around the world. And plus, I'm kind of, as you can tell, I'm getting a little hungry right now. So food is on my mind. So in the comments, in the chat, tell me, what could you eat? What could you eat tomorrow for lunch, for dinner? You could give me a sentence. I could eat this or that. All right. You're talking about a possibility, something that is possible for you to eat. The next thing, we use could quite often to ask questions and to make a request. When you're asking somebody to do something, and you would say, for example, I'd say, oh, could you please write to us in the comments? We always ask you guys to write to us in the comments. You can make it a request. And you could also say can, but again, I think could is it's a little more polite to use the modal. It just sounds a little softer. It's a little more polite, a little more genuine. You could say, could you please write to us in the comments? And yes, that's something we always want you guys to do is, yes, could you please write to us in the comments? Could you please join our classes? Could you please help us share the videos, help us spread the word, and make this class as large as possible. So you can use could to make a request, a polite request, something you want somebody to do. So if you guys have questions for us, if you would like to request something, that's a good way to practice it. You guys could say, could you please do this? For example, I know in some of our lessons, especially at the beginning, the music that we would add to the lessons, it was a little too loud, and that would be a request. Some people have written to us and said, for the future, could you turn down the music a little bit because it's a bit too loud? And that would be a polite request. The last thing that we use could for is when we want to use the past tense of can. And in this sense, we're talking about an ability, something that you can do. So for example, maybe I would say, oh, I can run fast. I can run fast. And then I get older, like I am right now, and I could use this sentence, and I'd say, when I was younger. I'm talking about a time in the past. When I was younger, I could run much faster. All right? I could run much faster. I had that ability in the past. All right? I could run much faster. Excellent. So let's see how we're practicing could and some sentences. Ulysses said, I could eat a sandwich at lunchtime. Yes, that is a possibility. Vivian, I could eat mashed potatoes, poached egg, and a glass of apple juice as my breakfast. That sounds like a very nice breakfast. That is something you could do. It is a possibility. Could you please mention my name? Alamgir, yes, Alamgir Hussein, all right? Sorry if I mispronounce your name, but yes, I will mention your name. That you asked very politely, and that's very nice. Alaziz, I could eat potatoes and rice. Excellent. I could eat lasagna. All right, I could eat lasagna. Amano, I could eat chicken or meat. Again, you have a choice, so that's a possibility. So perfect. You guys using that perfectly. Malik, yes, could you please speak slowly? I will try. I will keep that in mind. Thank you. You asked very nicely. And I think when I get excited about something, I tend to speak faster and faster. So that's actually an interesting request because some people, it's very interesting. Usually I talk slower naturally. That's just my speech. And a lot of times people comment about that on our video lessons, and they're like, "You speak way too slow. You sound like a robot." And then other people are like, "Oh, you're too fast." So I'm trying to find that balance. What's beneficial for everybody? What would help you guys the best? What's the best speed? And it's always going to change. So again, this is how we use could. And let's look at the last one, would. All right. We use would when we're asking questions and using who, what, where, when, why, how. You commonly hear would used with these W questions: who, what, where, when, why, how. Even though how is not a W, but we use it all the time with these questions. So, for example, I would ask you maybe a question: what would you like to do today? What would you like to do today? That would be a question. What would you like to do today? And my question to you, I have a question, I didn't put today in there. I said, what would you like to do? My question to you is, what would you like to do? What would you like to do tomorrow? Tomorrow is Sunday. What would you like to do tomorrow? Let me know in the chat, or if you're watching this later, write to us in the comments. Right there it is. Write to us in the comments. What would you like to do on Sunday? What would you like to do tomorrow? Let us know. Give me an answer. And again, you're going to respond, I would like what? I would like to go swimming. I would like to read a book. I would like to study more English with interactive English. So let me know. Let's practice using it. What would you like to do tomorrow on Sunday? Answer that question, please. Could you please answer that question and write it in the chat? We also use would, as you can tell, same with these other modal verbs, to ask questions. We use would to ask questions. And again, it's polite. Would you please help me? I think this is a great phrase to learn. Would you please? Would you please? Anytime that you want to be polite, and it's very important if you're at school or for job, for work, to use this phrase, would you please? And then you could ask somebody, what do you want them to do? You're making your request. You're asking a question. Would you please do this? Would you please do that? It is a great phrase to learn. The last part down there, this last one, is a hypothetical situation. If I were you, I would do the practice at the end of the lesson. That's what we are getting ready to do. If I were you, I would do the practice at the end of the lesson. Now, it's a hypothetical situation, and you might be looking at that and you know that, oh, okay, that is a conditional sentence. So we do use would with conditionals, with the second conditional and the third conditional. Truth be told, we have some very, very, very super awesome lessons on conditionals. And again, I will put a card up so that if you haven't seen them, you can check those out. If we're talking about the second conditional, like this one, a hypothetical situation, or even the third conditional, which would be an unreal possibility, you would use would. So an example using the third conditional, again, the condition would be the past perfect. Okay, if I had gotten up earlier today, I would have started this live lesson sooner. If I had gotten up earlier today, I would have started this lesson sooner. So again, we're using would plus have plus the past participle. But again, I don't want to get into the grammar. You guys can check out that lesson a little later. Next, there are two other instances that we used would. You would use it to make a polite request, because instead of saying I want, I would like. I think I would ask you guys to take I want and almost just get rid of it, all right? it's so much more polite. It's so much better to just say I would like. And I think even if you're talking to your friends, your family, your teachers at work, it's so universal. It's good just to say, I would like, I would like. I would like a glass of water. You're making a polite request. And the last one is to show a wish or desire. What would you like? All right. What is your wish? What is your desire? I gave you that example sentence, kind of comparing two things. I would rather go on vacation than go to work. I think most of you would agree with that sentence. I would rather go on vacation than go to work. It's showing a wish, showing a desire. In your answers, because I want to read them too, you're telling me your desire. I asked you, what would you like to do tomorrow? What would you like to do? And your answers would be telling me a desire. I would like to go swimming. I would like to read a book. I would like to travel to another city. So let's see what you guys put. What would you like to do tomorrow? Madi said, I would like to go shopping. Perfect. Again, that's expressing a desire. Zarka said, I would like to hang out with my friends tomorrow. Perfect. Dani, tomorrow I would like to go to church. Excellent. Apple, I would say I would like to thank you for your great videos. You are very welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're glad to have you. So let's see. Ahmed would have to work in the morning. Okay, you'd say, well, again, you're expressing your desire. What would you like to do tomorrow? You then say, if you don't want to work, I would not like to work tomorrow because it's very boring. Okay. Dahlia, I would like to go clothes shopping to buy a new red dress for my relative's wedding. Excellent. Perfect. Thank you for sharing with us and have fun at the wedding. Frank, if I were you, I would cook lunch at home instead of going to the restaurant. That is a great example of the second conditional and using would. Perfect. So let's now have a look and do the practice. So I'm going to give you a sentence, and if you can, try to write the whole sentence, and you are just going to fill in. Are you going to use should? Are you going to use could? Or are you going to use would? How are you going to complete the sentence? All right. So I will read the sentence, and I just want you to write your answer in the comments. And if you're watching this later, make it more interactive. Write to us in those comments. All right. Don't be shy. So this is your first one right here. And with this first one, okay, I want you to pay attention to how I'm saying this. Pay attention to my intonation and my tone. Okay, so I would say, you try to study a little bit each day. You try to study a little bit each day. How would you complete that sentence? I want you to write your answers in the chat. Are you going to use should, could, or would? You try to study a little bit each day. And I asked you again, think about how I'm saying that. Think about my tone. And that's kind of a hint. So everybody, you guys, perfect. Excellent, excellent. So yes, it is a suggestion. So I said, you should try to study a little bit each day. That is something that we suggest to you guys all the time to improve your skills. If you can find 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, a little bit each day, even if it's 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, you should try to study a little bit each day. It really helps. Now, what if I changed my intonation and said, to try to study a little bit each day? So what would you think in that sense if I change my intonation and say, well, you try to study a little bit each day? What could we use in that case? All right. If I said it with that tone and with that intonation. So this is where you see a little bit of a difference. If I said, you try to study a little bit each day. Some of you wrote it in there. Perfect. Excellent. Look at you guys. In that case, yes, we would change it. We would use could because it's talking about a possibility. And my tone changed a little bit. And I would say, yeah, you could try to study a little bit each day, as though I'm offering you I'm giving you a suggestion, but something that's possible for you to do. Maybe you will do it, maybe you won't, but you could use could in that case. So either should or could, we could use that in this sentence, but it changes the meaning depending on which one we want to say. So I'm going to just put should, could, and see, does that fit? All right, so yes, I could say a recommendation, you should try to study a little bit each day. As a possibility, I could say you could try to study, what could you do? You could try to study a little bit each day. So that is a rather long explanation for this first question. Let's just move on. So the next one I have for you is this question right here. What do you guys think? How would you complete, boom, this sentence? I'm going to make it, there we go. All right. Where you like to go for dinner? Where you like to go for dinner? How are we going to complete that question? What do you guys think? Rosa, hello. Hi. Just joining us. We're practicing using these modal verbs should, could, and would. If you guys just joined us. Hi, Eduardo. What's up? Glad to have you here. So again, write your answers in the chat. How would you complete this question? Where you like to go for dinner? Remember, I told you that if we're talking about those questions, who, what, where, when, why, how, we would use that with would. We often use it with would. Where would you like to go for dinner? So for this one, we would put would. Where would you like to go for dinner? It's a common question that you might ask your friends, your family members, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whoever. Where would you like to go for dinner? Let's look at this next question. How about this one? How would you guys say this? Oh, if you got that last one right, if you're getting these correct, hit that thumbs up button. Let me know that you guys are getting these correct and that you're able to follow this, and it's pretty easy to follow. So how would you complete this next sentence? We get going. We get going. We get going. We get going. What would you use? Should, could, would to complete that sentence. And everybody, excellent. Yes. You would say, and this is a common phrase that if you're leaving somewhere, many people would say, you know, we should get going. And again, you're talking about, in this case, you're talking about something that is likely to happen. Something that's likely to happen. We should get going. It's getting late. We should get going. We should leave. It's time to go. We should get going. It's a kind of a polite way to suggest that, that it's time, all right? Time to end the evening. I should get going. We should get going. Again, you could say it, I guess, as a possibility, like, hey, we could get going. You're not gonna hear that too often. I'm trying to think of a context that you might use that in, but it's not something you would hear. It's mostly, yes, we should get going. What about this one right here? How would you complete, boom, this sentence? All right. When I was a student, I set my own schedule. When I was a student, I set my own schedule. Are you going to use should, could, or would? What do you guys think? Hi, Annie. Thanks for joining us. Excellent. No, nobody's ever late to class. It is all good because this is going to get posted later, and people, you guys can watch this anytime you want. And even if you're out there now watching this later, I want you to answer these questions. Write your answers in the comments. It doesn't just have to be passive learning. We want you to interact with us. We want you to be engaged, and it's a really good way to practice. You can use the comment section, use it as a whiteboard. So what would you say to complete this sentence? When I was a student, I set my own schedule. Excellent. Everybody, again, you're talking about the past tense of can. And that first part is that's your big hint. When I was a student, you're talking about a point in the past. What did you have the ability to do? I could set my own schedule. That is an ability I had in the past, so we're using it like can in the past tense. Let's try this one. Have a couple more for you. Boom. How would you complete this sentence? I like you to ask one more question. I like you to ask one more question. Should, could, or would? Which modal are you going to use to complete that sentence? Should, could, or would? Hi, Carlos. What's up? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for saying hello. Hope you're having a good day. So here is my question. We're doing a practice with modals, and I just want you guys to write your answers in the chat. And everybody is rocking this practice. So yes, it is a desire or a wish, something that you're asking, and you would say, I would like. Remember, I told you this is a great phrase to remember instead of I want. No, I would like. It is so much better to get in the habit of using this, especially if you're just meeting people. You want to be polite. If you're at work, you want to be polite. If you're at school, you want to be polite. So I would like. And to meet that request, yes, I will give you another question. All right, so how would you fill out? What about this one? Bam. Okay, after this lesson, you share this video or join our social media classes. What would you use? You like how I'm dropping all these subtle hints for everybody throughout the lesson. It's a good way to practice. So after this lesson, you share this video or join our social media classes, which are right down here, down there. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, or of course right here on YouTube. How would you guys complete that sentence? After this lesson, you share this video or join our social media classes. So this one, wow, okay, yeah. What I was going for, many of you put should. I guess you'd say, I guess you could say that because I'm giving you a thing. I was actually going for more of a possibility of saying, well, you don't have to do this, but you could. So maybe my tone was incorrect when I was saying those. But yeah, you could say after this lesson, you should share this video or join our social media classes. But I wanted to actually go for after this lesson, you could share this video or join our social media classes. So either one of those is correct. Maybe I didn't give you the right intonation, but I was going for could, suggesting a possibility of something that could happen. So again, if you just joined us late, I just want to review the modal verbs that we talked about. We went over and discussed should and the times that we use should to talk about an obligation or request, something you should do. We can use it to ask questions, and I said I mostly use it to ask rhetorical questions when I'm thinking to myself, should I do this or should I do that? Should I ask another question? Should I not? And finally, like that last one down there, to express something that's likely going to happen. He should be here by now. Next, we talked about could, and could to express a possibility. Like that last one I was going for. You could share this lesson or join our social media classes. It's just to suggest a possibility. You can make questions and make a request. You can ask questions and make a request. Could you please do something? Could you please? A great way, another great phrase to remember to be very, very polite. And finally, to use it in the past of can. When I was younger, I could run much faster. And finally, we talked about would with those questions: who, what, where, when, why, how. What would you like to do? What would you like to do? Where would you like to go? Why would you like to learn English? And with questions just directly using the modal, would you what? Would you please help me? Again, that's another great way to be polite. Would you please anything, do something? Would you please help me? Would you please write to us in the comments? And a hypothetical situation, if we're talking about conditionals, if I were you, I would I would watch another lesson. All right. We can also use would to make a request. I would like a glass of water, or to show a wish or desire, something that you would like to do tomorrow. I would like to relax and rest and just kick back and have a day and just chill out and do nothing. That's what I would like to do. So again, thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope that you learned something new. If you did, boom, please hit that like button or share the video with others. Help us spread the word. If you have any other questions or comments related to could, should, or would, please write them in the comments. And even if you're watching this later, just tell us your name, tell us where you're from, answer these questions, and interact with us. Again, because it's interactive English. And finally, you can join our social media classes. We're active on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube. So again, excellent. Junior, Carlos, Frank, Long, Rosa. Thank you guys. Marco, Amano, Dani, Annabelle, Dahlia. Sorry if I'm missing some names. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, we will see you very shortly. We will see you next time. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you later. So long.